Well, I'm stopping here at the refuge because I have the rest of the story with Corey. I'm sure everybody's wondering what happened with Corey, the man that I called, or I was going to call, and I prayed about, the divine encounter. Well, here's the update. I prayed about it, and then I called my friend Victoria and talked to her about it because I figured the guy had to hear what had just happened on my end. He had to hear that this was really a divine encounter, and I wanted him to hear what happened on my side, how I had prayed, and how there was his note, and I needed you to hear that because that's a witness. And the divine thing about that was that was God answering my prayer, like right there. He's like, Stacy, I'm answering your prayer. You know, I heard you. I heard what you were saying, and I'm answering your prayer. So I talked to Victoria, and then the part of that was like, well, what happens if he wants to go hiking or he really wants to go whatever, and not to church? And so I asked Victoria, I said, well, what do you think about that? And she said, this is what I think. I think you should call him. You should witness to him. And she says, and if he wants to do all that other stuff and not go to church, she says, then you know. And that's exactly what I was thinking. And she's like, woohoo, you're getting discernment. She says, well, then it's been confirmed. So then my next call was to my other friend, Chris. So I call him up, and it was late. It was probably about 8 at night. I finally got a hold of him, and I told him what happened. He's like, wow, wow, wow. I mean, because this is an incredible story. And I said, I want your advice. What do you think? And he's like, yeah, I think you should witness. I think that, yeah, because and it sounds like he's a Christian, so maybe he was moved by the Spirit. And he said, yeah, church, okay. I said, if he wants to go to church, I would invite him to church. He's like, okay. And so we kind of talked about that a little bit, and then he's like, somewhere in the conversation, he says, well, I really hope, I don't know exactly how he put it, but he's like, I really hope that he's not, this isn't something else, and I'm like, yeah. I said, I know. I said, but I'll tell you what, I know where my heart is, and my heart has good intentions, and I don't know what's going to happen to the conversation. I said, maybe he'll want to go, whatever. I said, I'm going to let him lead, and if he mentions church, I will invite him. But I said, I still don't even know where that's going to what the Lord wants me to do until it happens. So I said, you know what, I'm just trusting the Lord, and He'll lead me. And Chris like, yeah, okay, yeah, I agree. And so and then we prayed. So anyway, I won't go into all the whole conversation because it was long. We were on the phone for maybe an hour and a half. And he said he was baptized in the 80s, and he did some work with the Royal Rangers, and he kind of worked part-time here and there. And he told me a little more. He was married at one time. He got divorced. He had 2 adult kids. And so my plan was where the Spirit really kind of led me. I shouldn't say it was my plan. The Spirit led me to talk more about my testimony. So I told him, about my bike accident, and I told him how the Lord had transformed me. I told him about, I even think I told him a story about the Yersinia, and he was like, "Oh man," he's like, "That wow, the Lord is really working in your life," and I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Wow, that's just so awesome." I mean, I said, all the glory goes to God. He's just, and then he says, you're a missionary. I said, yeah. He said, well, that's great. I mean, thank you for. I'm like, don't thank me. This is all, God is so good. I'm just humbled and grateful that the Lord has brought me so far. So it was a good conversation. And then in the end, he's like, well, like I said, I've never really done this before, and he said, I seen that you're out there and you're running and you're fit and you're alone. And I was like, okay. And he's like, yeah. He says you're really energetic and you seem friendly. I'm like, okay. So at the end of the conversation, the reception got pretty bad. And then I said, I'm going to church on Saturday if you want to come with me and my girlfriend, because it was really awkward. I didn't know what to say, and I just kind of wanted to hang up then. I really did, because I just thought, I did what I needed to do, and I witnessed to him, and sometimes I just feel awkward. So, and he's like, oh yeah, I would love to go to church. He says, so I work on Friday and Saturday. So, you want to go to my church or your church? And I'm like, no, I'm a Sabbath keeper. So, I'm going to church with my friend on Saturday. So if you want to come, and he's like, oh, he's like, okay, well, maybe we can go to church, and then we could go to lunch. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go to lunch. So now I'm like feeling like, oh boy. And then he's like, oh, so you said you went to a church on Saturday. He's like, oh, so he said, are you a Seventh-day Adventist? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, okay. And then it was just kind of like, I don't know. It was weird. It started getting awkward, like he didn't know what to say, how to end the conversation. So I said, you know what? I got to get going. This is bad reception, because it was really bad. And I said, can I just at least pray? And he said, yeah. So I prayed, and then he prayed for me, and it was a beautiful prayer. He's like, oh, thank you for Stacy. She's got this light, and it's amazing what you've done in her life, and may you continue to bless her. So that was good. And then we just hung up. So it was actually, yesterday I was out and about. And I got a call. I missed the call, and it was Corey. So I got the voicemail, and he left a message, and he said, "Yeah, this is Corey." So he calls, and he says, "Well, I've got the rest of the week off, and I've got everything that you want. I've got kayaks, I've got bikes, and we can go to any trail." And so I listened to that message, and I thought, oh, man, like my first reaction was like, no, Lord, the witness is done with. It's over with, And now he's calling for not church. No, now he's calling to go do something. But here's a caveat, because I really want to impress upon this fact, and this is for women out there, because if you are a woman after the Lord's heart, we have a responsibility. We are to be, well, not just the representative of Christ, but we should be seen as godly women, virtuous women, right? At least that's my goal. I want to be a godly woman. I want to be a virtuous woman. And we always need to be always aware of how we walk, how we talk, how we present ourselves, how we engage with the opposite sex. Always, right? Because we really are under the microscope. And it's not just being under the microscope by the world's standards, but, we're representing Christ, and we've got Satan always knocking at the door. He doesn't want he doesn't want women to be godly. He doesn't want virtuous women, right? He wants women to be tempted and to be, we know what he wants. So it seemed really like, maybe a no-brainer. The other night I started praying about it, because I'm like, Lord, this was an answered prayer, but now what's going on? I just felt like something else was going on, and I began to realize something else is going on. This is a big deal. This single man now is calling me, and he's offering me, what I love, right? Biking, hiking. He's got the kayaks. He's got everything. And trust me, I wasn't tempted. My heart belongs to Christ, and I'm consecrated. I'm dedicated. Nothing's gonna waver me, but I still have to be aware. I have to be aware. And this week, I've been having these encounters with men, and I begin to realize that, there's something going on here. The Lord is testing me in a way. And I kind of laugh, because I'm like, I'm not tempted by men. I'm not tempted by, but I think for women, I think for all of us women, I think what the Lord is trying to say is, be aware. Watch how you dress. Watch how you present yourself. And be aware that not every man is going to have godly intentions. Not every man, after you witness to them, is going to be on the up and up. Does that sound, I'm not saying that Corey had bad intentions, but I'm just saying that as a woman who's after God's own heart, that we have to be very careful. And I'm really appealing to Christian women out there right now because single or married, we have to always be aware when we're with the opposite sex, right? We really do. And out in the public, and we have these divine encounters, we need to pay attention. And I guess if anything this week with the encounters with the two guys in the four-wheelers and Corey, there is no follow-up. I did what I needed to do, and there's no follow-up. There's no follow-up. And you know, godly men need to be careful too. You can't be running around thinking that every woman that you meet who says she's a Christian has pure intentions, because not all of them do. And we're living in an age right now where there's a lot of temptations. And you know, it's funny because I wasn't tempted with him, but you know, what could have been a temptation was, oh, the bikes and the kayaks and let's go trail hiking. And you know, I could have just thought, wow, you know, what's the harm? He's a Christian. What's the harm? I mean, I can have a full day of fun, and I could probably even witness more to him. No. So you see what I'm saying? So just be very, very careful. And for me, it's been a lesson. It's been a lesson that I'm like, I really don't need a lesson, but looking at it and how everything happened this week, I think, yeah, there was a lesson for me. And also recognizing the other people in your life. How does what you do and how you represent God affect them too? Because it does. It really does. So yeah, I needed to share the Corey update and tell all of you who love the Lord, men and women, temptations can come in all different shapes and sizes. If the Lord calls you to witness to the opposite sex, be very mindful, pray about it. Like for me, I asked for godly counsel from two of my best friends, and I got godly counsel, and I even got a warning from my other friend, Chris. You know, he warned me, like, you know, just be careful. And he had great discernment. He had great discernment because he's a man, right? So, yeah, I need to wake up a little bit, and it was a great lesson. So hopefully for I don't know. I just pray that you, if you are having these encounters as a male or a female, rethink. Please, just rethink and be very careful. All right. God bless, my friend.